So just moments ago, we heard from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who said, quote, "This is not another long war." He also said the U.S. and Israel completed the most lethal and precise air power mission in military history.
Still so many questions remain, though, as day 3 of this conflict unfolds. Here to offer up some clarity is political analyst and foreign policy expert Lyndsay Keith, who joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Lyndsay, thank you so much for being here this morning.
It's great to be with you all.
So for people who are waking up and might not realize how much has developed over the weekend, can you explain to us why this is such a historical moment and why we should be paying attention to what's unfolding right now, especially in the Middle East?
Yeah, this is one of the most historic geopolitical moments that we've seen really in decades. And that's because ever since the 1979 regime change in Iran, Iran has been ruled by a theocracy. And just for people who don't pay attention to what that is, it really means that the supreme leader is seen as appointed by God, essentially akin to God, and so has ruled with an iron fist. And the country has been under oppression ever since then, has U.S. blood on its hands, has really become a huge state sponsor of terror. You might think of groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthi rebels, who attack a lot of U.S. allies in the region and also U.S. soldiers as well. And then we saw the riots that broke out earlier this year in Iran, killing its own people. And so those are just modern day examples of why taking someone down like this is such a massive deal. But it's also a big deal because there's a lot of controversy over what power the executive branch has and President Trump. And does he have the power to actually go in and take out a leader like this in another country? And even anybody listening to that press conference this morning from Secretary Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane, they would know that really they didn't give the clarity that some people are looking for. Many people concerned that this is about regime change and not about a national security threat. And that's oftentimes when we see the president declaring or entering into a war. Really, it's Congress who only has the power to declare war.
Out. I mean, the U.S. hasn't actually declared war. Congress hasn't even declared war since the 1940s. So it's not as if any of these conflicts that we've had over the past several decades was something that Congress had approved. Wanted to ask you your take on, just as so historic that the Supreme Leader is dead now, and so now you likely have some sort of a vacuum there, or there are those that are going to be filling in his shoes, even with the blackout that still continues to happen there, the internet blackout. Do we know who is now making the decisions there in Iran? Who's in charge right now?
We actually don't. It's one of the million-dollar questions because everyone is wondering who is going to be in power. But of course, Israel has come out. They had the initiative and the operation of taking out these leaders. And they said they've taken out at least 40 leaders in the regime there. And so it's unclear who's left. And even some reporters were able to talk with President Trump yesterday. And he said some of the people that the administration had in mind to take over actually were taken out as well. And so it's unclear who is calling the shots there in Iran right now. And, a lot of the responses that we're seeing from them were probably pre-calculated, but it'll be interesting to see who does show up as the leader. And we may not know that for days, months, but that is the million-dollar question right now.
So one thing that I thought was pretty fascinating was the Ayatollah did make a plan for this exact thing, knowing that there could be many leaders or within the leadership that would be killed by U.S. airstrikes. And so the succession plan was made for each executive, I think 3 or 4 person to assume a leadership role after these attacks happen. I want to talk, though, about how Iran has responded. Not only do we know they're targeting U.S. air bases, which we expected, but they're also targeting civilian areas and all over the region, too. Lebanon, UAE, Saudi Arabia. What seems to be the strategy there?
Yeah, so Jen, that is like one of the biggest surprises from most political and foreign policy analysts is how uncalculated these responses have been from Iran. And they were probably predetermined because they responded within the matter of hours on Saturday once they were struck in the early morning. But you had a lot of these Gulf states, these Middle Eastern states who said that their airspace was not to be used by the U.S. or by Israel. And they didn't want to be a part of it, really. They knew it was happening, but they didn't want to be a part of it. And now, because Iran has struck residential areas, airports, hotels, and residential buildings as well, they really have had a change of tune and now essentially saying that they are willing to even take force specifically against Iran. And so this is a complete shift of what we're seeing happen in the Middle East. And that's also why this is such a big deal, because anybody who follows what's happening in the Middle East, you know, President Trump, even President Biden tried to create peace between Israel and these Middle Eastern countries for a really long time. And there's been unrest there. And now you see these Gulf states who are essentially aligning with Israel and the U.S. against Iran. And so that's a really massive deal. But many people say it's because of the mistake that Iran made by not just targeting U.S. assets, but assets of these neighboring countries.
I think we only have like a minute left, Lyndsay. Just wanted to ask you, how much more fight does Iran have? You heard Secretary Hegseth there say that one of their objectives was to take out their long-range capability. And we've seen the retaliatory strikes. Unfortunately, 4 service members were killed. How much longer do you think Iran could keep this going with all of the military assets that the U.S. and Israel still has in that region?
Oh, that's a great question. So far, we know that Iran has used over 300 of its ballistic missiles, but they believe to have over a stockpile of 2,000. And so they could go for quite some time. But there's also a question about their capabilities of some of their machinery that's used to launch these. Has it been taken out? And so that's why there's extended operation from the U.S. And you even heard from that briefing this morning, Pete Hegseth wouldn't give a timeline on how long this would be. If it would be 4 weeks, it would be 6 weeks. Obviously, President Trump's the one who put that stamp of potentially a 4-week. He said that there's also other off ramps. But, you know, it seems so far that Iran is being calculated with its ballistic missiles. And last thing I'll say, I know you're short on time, Secretary of State Marco Rubio just last week was talking about the concern of Iran's ballistic missiles and the range that they have. But really, that is range within the region. And as you mentioned, 4 U.S. soldier members, military members being killed, sadly, and the administration saying that more will be killed. And so they must have intel to know that Iran has the capability to keep on going.
Yeah. It's a major military conflict, and we saw those F-15s also that were shot down, and that was by friendly fire too. So we know, unfortunately, there are going to be casualties when we have a military operation as large as this.
Lyndsay Keith, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to see you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Take a quick break. We'll be right back.